Sam, welcome again. Thank you for being here. It's great having you here. Your feet are on dry land at the moment. There's a one-day globe race going on at the moment. Tell us a bit about what you've been up to.
Yeah, thanks Nick, and thanks MUSTO for having me. I am on land. It's a bit unusual, but recently I've been doing a lot of sailing until the end of 2015, notably skippering Team SCA in the Volvo Ocean Race, and then sailing with Tanguy de la Motte in the Transat Jacques Vabre at the end of 2015. And all of that was kind of straight on from dismounting in the 2012-13 Vendée Globe. And I am a mum as well, so choice was 2016 was get to know my son, who is now 5 years old and has been very patient following me around the world recently. And my husband jumped at the opportunity that I wasn't sailing, because I'm a sailor's wife as well, and so he said, right, if you're not going, I'm going, and he's now doing the Vendée Globe right now, so I've become a WAG. And sort of project manager, because we set up a very family, small budget project with an old boat for Romain Athanasio, my partner, and so my restful year has been quite busy helping him get up and going and backing him around the world, and it's a lot easier doing the sailing than it is staying at home and being a mum, I think.
Yeah, like you say, you've been supporting your husband, and you're the other side of the coin now, so obviously he was supporting you when you were going around the world and all that sort of stuff. What's it like being on the other side of it, and how have you been able to offer your support? Has there been particular moments where it's been invaluable?
Yeah, and for me it's really interesting to be on the other side of the fence and see the project from this side, and see how much effort and work is involved in the shore side of a single-handed campaign. It's not single-handed, there's definitely a lot of work behind the scenes, and it's been great to see that. And I also have been working with Thomas Coville on his, I'm part of his weather routing team, so I get to see behind the scenes in 2 projects this year around the world, and it's been amazing. I did actually email Roman a couple of days ago apologising for being a really bad wife, because it's quite hard. I'm not used to being on that end of the telephone when things go wrong or he's having a bad day. I'm much better at handling a bad day out there than saying the right thing to someone who's having a bad day, and that's when you realise how hard it is when you can't do anything to help them, but you try, and he emailed back saying that it was okay. I wasn't doing too badly.
I'm sure you're doing a great job. And obviously you've done lots of solo sailing, and we talked about skippered the Volvo Ocean Race team as well, Team SCA, in the last edition. What's it like going from being on a boat on your own, solely relying on yourself, getting your boat around the world, to then that team dynamic? How does that change things, and how did you have to adapt personally to manage that?
It was a big change and a big step up for me in many ways. It was an amazing opportunity that SCA gave us, and Team SCA backed us. We had a great project that really meant that the sailors, those of us who were the sailors, could just get on with the sailing and training, and it was great to forget about the sponsors and the management, which is what we do a lot of in the French world when we manage our own teams. But then for me personally, to become a skipper of a big all-female crew at such a high level, suddenly having 11 girls to manage for 9 months, with the pressure and the fact that we knew we were catching up from behind, and we weren't going to, it's easy to lead a winning team, but it's even harder to lead a team that's playing catch up, and we know that we knew that we weren't going to get good results all the time. But I wasn't the only one new to my job, and none of us had very much experience, and the girls really helped me learn what I had to do. And I think one of the things I learned is, and I think that's one of the hard things as well, when you're a solo sailor, you do everything on board, yeah, you have a hand on everything from the bow to the nav to the helm, and then suddenly when you're with a crew, actually the best skipper or the best skippers actually don't do very much at all. You surround yourself by experts, show them you trust them, and let them each do their job, and just be that key crucial link between all those experts to make the boat go fast together. And it's very hard for someone who's used to doing everything to suddenly let go even for one area of the boat. And obviously people don't do it exactly how you would do it yourself, and accept that there are different ways, and actually realise that I learned a lot as well, because from experts in different areas, I realised that there's better ways to do things than I can do them, and I've brought a lot out of that for future solo sailing projects as well. But yeah, the management side was difficult, but I wasn't alone, and I even used quite a lot of help. We had some team building experts working with us, and I also worked a lot with the HR director of SCA, the company, and she was very kind. She's a woman, so that there was a good link between the two of us, and she very kindly gave me some of her precious time, and even flew out to China to work with me. So yeah, I got a lot out of that project, but it was through a lot of hard work, and not just my own, but everyone who's supporting us.
That's really interesting to hear. And so we've got this year's Volvo Ocean Race here. It starts in October. The new man at the top of the Volvo Ocean Race, a guy called Mark Turner, he's created some new rules about crew configurations, compulsory almost to carry women on board. You can have different configurations. What's your view on that? Is it a good thing?
I think it's a brilliant thing. I know Mark very well because he's run some of my projects in the past before, and I trust because he has worked with a lot of women in the past, with Ellen and myself, amongst others, and he knows. He's probably the person that knows the best in the corporate world as well. For sure, but the companies that sponsor the Volvo Ocean Race, no company is just men only. And for the corporate world and for sponsors, they need to have mixed teams, or they need to have men and women sailors to be able to keep that link and make that link perfect for the companies that sponsor, to get the maximum out of their investment. And for me, I will do anything to keep women in the Volvo Ocean Race, because we, with Team SCA, we invested so much, the company, the team members, the shore team and the sailors, to improve our level in the Volvo Ocean Race and on those types of boats. It would be a shame to see all that effort wasted, because if the women skip an edition, then we'll be going back to zero again, and that's where we were struggling, especially at the beginning of the Volvo, with that lack of experience. And if we can manage to carry that on, and that's what Mark is trying to do, then hopefully that will just gradually improve the women's sailing and the women's offshore sailing in that area, open up opportunities, and even give young people a reason to carry on, because quite often if you don't think there's a job out there, then it's hard to justify still sailing, and maybe even justifying to your parents as a young kid that's what you want to do, but they're like, well, you're never going to get a job doing that. But if these little efforts that Mark are doing, and the Magenta project, the girls in the Magenta project are doing, it's all to try and help motivate the younger sailors to get up there and open opportunities everywhere. If it happens in the Volvo is the pinnacle of the sport. That's an example for all the other boats. So the big boats, the boats that do the Fastnet race, the Royal Exeter and Hobart, then it will become normal to have mixed crews and have women in important roles on the boats as well, which is what I'm keen to do as well. It's not just for Volvo, but for everywhere in sailing and offshore sailing.
Yeah, that's fantastic. It's a positive thing, clearly, and yeah, I really hope it will get some more women into the professional world of the sailing. So, are we going to see you at the start of the Volvo Ocean Race? But what else are you going to be up to? Are you going to be up to anything else?
Yeah, well, this year is definitely, I can't wait to go sailing again now. So that's watching my husband go around the world has not been frustrating, because I'm so happy to see him finally get out there and accomplish his dream as well. But now I'm starting to get itchy feet, and so this year I'll be back in the Imoca class, so not in Alicante at the Volvo Ocean Race start. But I'm still looking out for if any of the mixed crews are looking for a girl to do one leg or two legs, because I think some of the teams will think about sailing in different configurations depending on the different legs, because they're very different conditions wise. So I'm looking out for opportunities for people to look for a temporary crew member for one leg or two. But my real goal is to try and get back to the Vendée Globe in 2020. And so I'm happy to be sailing with, I'm going to sail with Tanguy de la Motte this year in the in the IMOCA circuit and the Fastnet race in the Transat Grave, amongst other smaller races in France. And hopefully that's going to get me on the stepping stone pathway to a Vendée Globe 2020, but still looking for the budget.
That's great. We really hope you can make it to the 2020 start line, and yeah, it'd be good to see you out in the water again.
Yes, I can't wait.
That's enough questions from me. Does anybody out here have some questions for Sam? None at all. Yes, here's one.
Sam, Mark Turner's done a great thing to bring more opportunity for female sailors, as you say. Where would you see it going next? Would you see just a general, broader, healthy mix of male and female, just like corporates in real life, or would you see the ambition of the girls having their own boat and smashing it that way, or a combination of both? Where would you see it going next?
I think realistically, I think what Mark's doing is the best, because he's almost forcing it, and it will almost be a bit unnatural to start with, to sail with mixed crews for the first time ever in such a high level round the world race. But I think at the end of the day, that's the way that it's going to keep the continuity of always having women and always having opportunities for women in the Volvo and other areas of offshore racing. However, I would never shut the door to an all-female project, and I think we showed with Team SCA, albeit a little bit too late, with our victory in the Lorient leg and several import race victories, that it's possible to go out there and smash it, as you said, with an all-female crew. And personally, for me, I think an all-female crew sometimes can be harder to establish that bond to start with, but we had an amazing crew spirit by the end of the race, and I don't think you can find that in a mixed crew, or I don't know about a male crew, because I've never been on an all-male crew. So that's, for me, I would never want him or Mark or the Volvo to shut that door and say it's mixed only. I think it's great that he said, yes, you can sail all guys, you can sail 7+1, 7+2, or mixed, or you can also be 11 in an all-female crew, and I think that's great to keep that open, and it keeps it open for a sponsor who might want to sponsor an all-female crew, because some corporate-wise there might be reasons to do that as well.
Any other questions from anybody? Okay, all right. We'll leave it there. Sam?
I'm going to stay here and drink a beer with you guys. So
exactly, yeah.
Other questions, I'm here for a while.
Sam, thank you very much for being here. Oh, one question, here we go.
Yeah, on a practical note, what is your training regime? Example?
It varies depending on the program and the time available. So with the Volvo and Team SCA, we had it was the ideal dream scenario where we were just doing the sailing, and we had a massive shore team and a massive logistics team backing us. And so then we were in the gym for an hour a day at 7 in the morning, every morning, probably 9 days out of 10, so we didn't really have a proper weekend schedule. And then we were sailing every day in 25 knots winds in Lanzarote, so sailing every day, back in the evening, a lot, some offshore training as well. In the solo programs, we generally got smaller teams, so we have to spend a bit more time in the management, logistical, being in the office. It's a bit, for me, that's a bit more realistic to be involved in everything. So everything from learning how camera works, learning how to edit small films and send them back. Obviously, physical training is really important. I'm based in Port Macquarie, and we have a squad there that creates a whole training system for us. So we have sessions that are available as a group with very different skippers together, so it cuts down costs, and sometimes it's nice to train, even though it's with the competitors, to train together. So in that kind of scenario, there's a little bit less physical training, not through want, but just through because we don't have enough time to do everything, but at least 3 times a week, gym or fitness training and strength training, and then a lot of sailing as much as possible. Sailing in the French, I guess in this French squad system, there's a lot of sailors who are all members of that squad, and we create our training sessions together. So it's quite structured on the water training with other boats. So you're not just going out there sailing around on your own. It's everything with a proper start line and a proper finish line and a course and or two-boat testing. Every day is really defined, so you don't waste any time out on the water as well. It's easy to waste time with these boats because they're so complicated.
Yes. So how many hours per week? Hours per week on average? How many hours?
How many hours per week average training?
On the water?
Yes, and gym.
It depends on the weeks. There's some weeks where I will train every day on the water, and then it's single-handed. It's so physical on the boats that you just do some warm-ups in the gym because otherwise you don't make it around the race course. Sometimes we'll go on an offshore training session where we'll leave on Monday and come back in on Friday. So that's a lot of hours on the water. Not many hours anywhere else. And then other days we won't sail at all in the week, and then we'll be able to spend more hours in the gym. So that's probably, I guess, 2 hours a day, 3 or 4 days a week if we can. But it very depends on the time of year, and if we break the boat, then we can't take it sailing, so we have to do other things. Yeah, it depends.
Thank you.
Yes.
Here we go.
How young was you when you started sailing?
I started sailing when I was about 2 weeks old, because I was a little baby, because my mum and dad had a boat, and when I was born, their summer holiday on the boat was planned, and so they just took me with them, but I don't remember. So I don't actually remember the first time I went on a boat and remembered it. But I think that's quite unusual. I've got a lot of friends who started sailing a lot later, and are still very, very good sailors. So it's I was lucky to be able to grow up with a lot of sailing in my family.
What would you say to a young person, a youth child at school, and they've seen a bit of sailing, but they haven't got friends who go sailing, their family doesn't go sailing? What would you say to them to go and get them out into a boat? And
first of all, I'd say try it. Go sailing and try it, because it's something that you can watch on the TV, or people can talk about it. But if you go out and try it in dinghies with some friends, and there's lots of clubs in the UK where that's possible, and sailing in the whole trip around the world. So that's where he's right now, halfway between New Zealand and South America. And he told me this morning in an email that he was really happy because he's got past the 2,000 miles to Cape Horn mark, and he's counting them down mile by mile, and that's made a big difference.